Hey, what's up, guys? It's Sick, and I want to try something a little different again today. It seems to be the same thing I say every time that I do something, so we're just gonna do a thing. So we have the expansion coming out next week, and so I've been trying to help RedGuides and MacroQuest as a whole get some of the stuff updated that we're gonna need for the expansion. One thing I did a couple of nights ago is I updated MQ2PortalSetter. And if you're not familiar with MQ2PortalSetter, this is when you go to your guild hall dude that you buy a portal fragment and you give it to him, and he throws up the portal so you can go to the zone. Well, MQ2PortalSetter allows you to right-click on the guy, you get a menu, and you can click the button on the menu that then allows you to do the thing. So we needed the new stuff added for Cobalt Scar, the Cobalt Scar 2. Now, I have already submitted this stuff to for code review to get approved, so we all have access to it and all that cool jazz. Now, code review is a process in which other programmers, developers, people who know what the hell they're talking about can look at stuff and go, okay, you screwed this up, or this needs to be fixed, or this was an oversight. And I just wanted today to kind of show what that looks like. There's only a couple examples in this, so this will be pretty quick, and it doesn't get too lost in the woods on how that process works. But I got a lot of people ask me various questions about things, so this is just something, okay? So I submitted this, MQ2PortalSetter. So over here in the browser, you can see the merge request opened one day ago by Sick, and have a commit, and Nightly has a couple of comments. So let's go through these together. So Nightly gives me the like, what the hell eyes? Was your intent to move the brace to the next line? So let's go and check this out. So this is somewhere around line 90. I'm gonna go back to Visual Studios, Control G. I'm gonna go to line 90. So somewhere around here, we can see that the function was this function here, and he said, was your intent to move the brace to the next line? So we can see that I added an extra line here, and there's no reason for that. This is the first thing that happens as soon as we're inside the function, so we can delete that, and I'll save. So now we're back in action. That's literally the extent of that thing, but it's important because little things like that, even though this didn't actually have any physical effect on anything, little things like that, somebody may say, you changed a thing. Was there a reason why you changed the thing? If you didn't change the thing with intent, you should probably put it back. And let's go back to browser. So that one's fixed. Put a little comment, absolutely not. Poor post-edit cleanup on my part, will fix. So what I actually did on this part is when I'm adding new stuff, I really like to compartmentalize stuff. So like if I was adding something between here, I would go like this, like give me some room to work with, and then I would start doing stuff here in the middle. And that's just a visual thing for me to make sure that I'm acting where I'm acting and I'm doing what I'm doing. It's probably not a good habit to be in. And as I'm getting more experience in programming and doing stuff, those sorts of things are going away. When I was going through this, something that Nightly reminds me all the time about, there's a couple of things. One, if-else chains instead of ifs and returns. So when I came in here, I was thinking about something else I was working on, and this very much, if this window button is the Cobalt Scar 2 button, do this stuff. Then we say, if the window button is this, do this stuff. So this could be an if-else chain. Now we don't have extra returns in here. It just ends up going down to the bottom. Now, the second part of looking at that and seeing all of this, you can see a lot of this is duplicated. A lot of it's duplicate code, just with something a little bit different, right? So we have in here, if the CX window is Cobalt Scar 2 button, and we left-click the bitch, then say we're gonna set the portal stone to the clamshell, and then do routine setup 1 and set portal. Now we duplicate all of this except for what we're doing here. So we could actually have a function that checks what the button is and compare it against if it is the button, then do this. We could get rid of a lot of this kind of duplicate stuff here, especially when like this, if I click this, you can see how many times this is here. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, blah, 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 blah. I don't know how many times that is. But a lot of that stuff can be cleaned up. We could probably cut off, you know, 50, 100 lines of code, make it cleaner with more clear intent, and then also easier to add stuff later on. But let's keep moving on. So let's go back to the browser. Let's see where the next one is. All right, we're back in the browser. Nightly. This feels like it should be a generic function rather than duplicating it for every button. An argument with the debug right chat and the portal stone name, but it's everywhere, so okay. Yeah, so this is actually what I was just talking about, where we have a lot of duplicate stuff that we can clean up. And he is exactly right. This is something we can clean up in the future. When I was looking at this a couple nights ago, I thought about that. But for me, with this merge request, the intent was specifically, let's just get it updated for the expansion so people can run, you know, run hitting the ground right away. Keep going. So this part, Nightly says this was 35 from previous and now is 29. Is that intentional? So this is actually not in the CPP. That was actually in the XML. And I'm actually impressed that Nightly saw this because there's a lot of those changes in here. If we, in the browser here, if we open the diff, where is it? Commits, click, and you see the two files here. We have PortalSetter and PortalSetter window. If we go in the window, and all right. Show full file. Okay. If we scroll down here, you'll see a lot of these were changed, and that's because the spot for the PortalSetter window was adjusted. And now this means that he went and, I don't know if he automatically did it, but Nightly went and counted to make sure that the changes I made all made sense in terms of how many were changed for each one, because on the surface, it looks like everything is just getting bumped down by X number. Let's just say that X number is 30. It looks like everything's getting bumped down by 30, but that's actually not the case because there are big buttons and little buttons. So that may have been something I might wanted to have put in the merge request, just as for the reviewer to be able to know ahead of time that, hey, perhaps you're gonna see this stuff. I don't know. I'll ask Nightly and see if that's something that I could improve to help code reviews in the future. All right, let's get back to the CPP. So we got those. Had to move the braces. There was something else he commented on. Did it not come through? Oh, okay. We talked about this in private message. So he asked me about the spacing. Now on my screen, if you just sit back, this looks totally fine. Okay, if you sit back, it looks totally fine. There's nothing here visually that looks like spacing is fucked up. Okay, but if I scroll in here, so you see these dots? These dots are spaces. You see these arrows? These are tabs. Now, when I added the Cobalt Scar 2 button, I kept it in the same line setup as all the rest of the ones. I personally normally use tabs. I don't normally use spaces. But if you have something that already has spaces, if you throw tabs in there on certain editors and, like our GitLabs thing, if you look at that, it can end up looking all over the place and it's impossible to try and read it because now you have a bunch of shit that's out of line and it looks like it adjusted and changed. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change this to spaces, just so everything is in line. Now this is outside the scope of adjusting this, so this isn't really something that I had to do, but it's something that popped up, and it's an easy adjust to do it while we're already looking at it. So everything else in here looks pretty good. Let me explain what I did. So we have this MQ2PortalSetter, and up the very top here we have a class, CPortalSetter window, public custom window, public function, CPortalSetter window, car template, custom window template. So I can look down here and see, okay, so we have a thing we have an object called Stratos button, and it's a C button window pointer, get child item, and then there's a constant character in here, a string literal Stratos button. So we can see this for all of these. So I created another one, Cobalt Scar 2 button, keeping it in line with the Eastern Waste 2. It's also what the zone short name was. I tried to pay particular care to ensure that what I was naming this is reflective of what's in the game. I wasn't just like, new Cobalt Scar, CoV 2020, cool zone guy zone. Because that's impossible for anybody else to come in here and be like, what the fuck is a cool guy zone? So you want to keep things like that to be as clear and as specific as possible. If anybody goes and looks at the zone info and they look for Cobalt Scar 2, they're going to see Cobalt Scar 2, and it's going to look like this. So going down, so then we also have a window notification of a CX window pointer, int message, and a void pointer unknown. I don't actually know what that is, this unknown thing. Maybe we'll find out later in here. But we can see we make entries for all of these. We create all of the buttons here. Now there is there is some fuckery here. This is the same thing, as far as I know. It's kind of a personal preference on as to which side you want it to be on. I kept it on the same side of what was there previously, but this previous edition should have probably been kept in line with all the rest of them, and I should have probably also kept it in line with the rest of them. So so this is something that I'm going to poke Nightly about that he missed on code review. It says, hey, this thing is on the wrong side. Now, it doesn't matter because it's saying this is a C button window pointer. This can actually, pointers like that can actually be in the center. So it can be on the left side, the center, or the right side. And there's some reasons why a preference is, you know, some people prefer one thing over another. Specify intent and all that. I believe, actually, I don't want to say what I think is accurate because I don't remember. But you can see here, like, car pointer template. You could have this to be a car pointer template, and that's the same thing. I call it car, by the way, not char. Character, I don't know, whatever. Shut up. Okay, so we're going back down here, and we got CPortalSetter window notification. So this function is a member of this class, the CPortalSetter window class that we were looking at up here, CPortal window. And this is what the shit we're doing with it. Does no ever actually get used anywhere? Return unknown. I don't know what that is actually. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So we come in here and we send the information, and we say, hey, if we didn't send a P window, we didn't send the CX window P window, then set visible to 1 and return 1. Otherwise, if the window that we're looking at is the Cobalt 2 Scar button, if we clicked it, then we want to say that, hey, the portal stone that we want to pick up is the Othamer clamshell, and we're copying that information, Othamer clamshell, into portal stone name, and then we're going to go to the routine step 1 and set portal function. Now, we'll go down here and we can say portal stone name. So if we go into where set portal is called, if you remember, we set the routine to 1. So if we're in current routine 1, if we have some shit on our cursor, say that we already have stuff on our cursor, set it to 0, and we can't do anything. So if we go to the guy and we try to use it, we have something on our cursor, it's going to spit out and say, you already have something on your cursor. This is not cool. Knock it off. So we could actually, this could actually be something like, we'll auto inventory it, but that gets into, now you're doing stuff, you're automating stuff for your character that they may or may not want you to do, which is probably why the design choice was just to tell them that they needed their cursor empty. is going to check if they have any free inventory space. Now this actually shows that we're parsing macro data in here, so we're actually using the TLO like you would in game, like you would in a macro. You know, if you did echo $me free inventory, it would come back and say how many inventory spaces you have. We actually have functions in main that you don't need this, so this is unnecessary at this point. And anytime you can avoid parsing macro data because you have access to the function directly, that's probably a good idea. So this is something that could be changed in the future. And they do alpha to int free inventory equals 0, then you must have free inventory slot to PortalSetter. So some of this could be cleaned up here. So we're down in routine step 1, so we're in the switch at case 1, which is going to be routine step is 1. We say, oh, we're doing parse macro data again. And this gets into Windows. Windows are really annoying in EverQuest and MacroQuest, how it's set up to do that stuff. So it's literally just grabbing the thing in the list that matches the name. It's grabbing that item right here. This %s is taking this information from the car portal stone name and slapping it in here. So sprint fs. This is printing this information. This is formatting that information into this little thing here, and then we're taking all of this information and slapping it in here, the zstone list position, and it's parsing that information, and then it is sending that information minusing 1 for the list window, and then current routine step ++. So if we were in 1, it would go to 2, and then we're breaking out of the switch. So then it, you know, when it comes back in here, it's going to say, hey, we're in the thing, buy the thing. It's going to easy command control notify, buys it, ++, breaks out, comes back in, and says, okay, stone is this. If we have the stone, then do this, send the window click, do this, next step, onward and on. So some of this can be cleaned up. It is a fantastic plugin. It works great. There's some interesting stuff with it. So this is something that I see as I'm going through it, adding this addition and thinking, you know what, this is something that is probably within my skill level, something that I could do, something that any of you out there can do. You know, this is one of the public things that are available on our very vanilla Git that anybody can go and submit a merge request. A couple things else I noticed in here is this here, get tick count. We actually use get tick count 64 most of the time, and if I mouse over it, Visual Studios is telling me consider using get tick count 64 instead of get tick count. Reasons: get tick count overflows every 49 days. Code that does not take that into account can loop indefinitely. Get tick count 64 operates on 60-bit 4 values and does not have that problem. So that's probably not going to be an issue, overflowing every 49 days. But for good code, safe code, future code, we definitely want to change that to get tick count 64. Actually, speaking of which, that's a local on Pulse. Interesting. Anyway, doesn't matter. So this is this. I'm going to cut the video here and then show you what the window with the new additions looks like in game, and get into a little bit of the usage on it just to show you guys what's up. So see you. All right, guys, so I wanted to show you what it actually looks like when you use MQ2PortalSetter. If you're already in game and you load it, you have to do a reload UI. You'll actually get a message in your MQ2 window that says you need to reload it, your user interface, for it to actually show the window itself. If you have it set to load and it's part of what plugins you have loading when you come into the game, you don't have to do that reload UI stuff. So you would be able to just walk up to the guy just like this. When you right click on him, it's going to open up the PortalSetter window, and you have all the options to click, and it'll automatically purchase whichever one you need for this. So we just added the Cobalt Scar, so I'm going to click on that. I'm going to buy the little clamshell thing, the Othmer clamshell, and toss it in the thing. And if I walk over to here, it should say we can go to Cobalt Scar. Boom. Cobalt Scar. Good to go. If we came over here and we purchased Eastern Wastes, for example, it's going to buy the correct one for Eastern Waste, hand it to the dude, and I come over here, and you know, like the game takes a second for whatever it to load, and then we have Eastern Wastes. And let's say we change our mind again, and we're like, no, I actually did mean the Cobalt Scar, mean to go there, so we're gonna click it, and come back, and we're set to Cobalt Scar. And easy peasy lemon squeezy. So that's that. Anyway, that's MQ2PortalSetter, and that is me going over the code review for the updates that I sent through. I figured try a little something different. I get a lot of questions about various stuff. There's a lot of stuff that's beyond my ability to answer with any sort of authority or definitive, this is this. All I can give you on a lot of these things is just what I know thus far, or my experiences thus far in these things. I'm definitely not an authority figure on anything to do with code or programming or, I mean, shit, even EverQuest. I do my very best to give accurate information, and if I ever give any inaccurate information, it is not intentional. And anytime I give something that is an opinion that I don't believe is objective fact, I try and ensure that I preface that with, it is an opinion. So anything in the code review that is incorrect is definitely not intended to be incorrect, and feel free to let me know if I did say anything that is not factually correct, because I want to make sure that I give people correct information, especially since I get asked so many questions. I do take it as a responsibility to try and give objective, reasonable, fair answers to questions. So thank you very much. And if people enjoy this kind of thing, where maybe when I'm doing a code update, I can make a vid, or if I'm receiving a code review, or maybe if I'm just looking at code, if this is something that folks are interested in seeing, you know, feel free to let me know. But I will talk to you soon.